All right. So yeah, we got the live stream going for those who can't join the Zoom. So that's running right now. Let me see. Anyone else still need a minute? No, we got about 22 people on right now. Let's give everyone another minute or two to jump in. All right. Let's see here. Now, if you guys are watching live on the YouTube feed, there is about a minute delay. So at least there'll be a recording of this when we're done, so you guys can see that. Yeah, I know, man. I don't feel like calling Comcast and complaining. I pay for a gig. I've been only getting 600 megs since the virus. All right. Anyone else need minutes? Okay, the stream's working. Keep that running on the other screen. All right. Still see people joining. All right. We'll make the join cutoff time 7:03, 7:04. Should have got yourself a drink. Nice. You say hot cocoa? Nice. Nice. I just moved about 2,000 pounds of sand. My wife bought the little one a sandbox, and I went to Lowe's and got a whole pallet of sand because we can't buy a small sandbox. We gotta buy a big sandbox. Nice. All right. Let's see. We got about another minute. There's another person. All right. Amit David, JMU. All right. Yes. Yep. All right. So let's get the show started right now. There's 27 people in here. Between us and the students, I'll keep an eye on as more people join. And I'm assuming everyone can hear me because everyone's at least responding to me. Dude, that's gonna really mess up the call today. Your name being everyone and everything. Um, so a quick intro here. My name is Michael Salvia. I have been doing the Mid-Atlantic CCDC now for 15 years. You may see me go by the name Gen X Web during the CCDC contest or competition. Back in the day, I was really well known for phone systems, and nowadays, really just try and manage the teams and make sure things are running smoothly for us. I took over Rob Mubix's position last year, Rob Fuller's position. So this is my first year actually running the red team. So far on the call for the red team, we have everyone. We have Stewart and HM01. I'm hoping that we at least get one other guy joining us from the Windows side. We'll see if we can do that. If not, we'll try to answer your questions to the best of our abilities, right? Because we all have our own specialties. Before we get too far into this, there's a couple housekeeping reminders for this call. Remember, keep everything professional during this call. If you guys use your microphones, screenshots, video, anything like that, please be mindful that we are streaming this for those who can't join us. Be careful what you say. Please watch your languages. We tried this once before and things got really nasty on the call and we had to end the calls. So let's try to avoid that today. I know there are some people that may have hard feelings. And this kind of expected in this line of work in general. and we'll try to address all those items as we get through this call today. So I ask you guys to act as professional as the CCDC outlines, and we'll have a great call. We'll try to answer as much as we can for you guys during this call. I wanted to do this call because normally at the end of each competition, we all get to sit around together and talk and do that debrief with you guys live. And with the virus this year, we did not have that opportunity to do so. So I offered it up. A bunch of our team guys said they're willing to do it. So here we are. Also, some of you guys know from the past, a lot of us like to sit down with you guys and just hang out with you guys during the competition. Usually Saturday nights, if you guys are around the lobby, you'll find us. We'll end up hanging out. We'll do dinner or something. You guys can ask us questions and we'll share knowledge with you guys. We don't share anything about the competition because we want to keep everything fair for everyone else. With that out of the way, yes. All right, let's mute him. All right. Also, make sure you're on mute if you don't have anything to say. I'm going to ask, well, if you can keep an eye on the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything as we go through this. Next item I have on here, I just want to mention the role of the right team because there seems to be a little angst here. So in years past, the right team was notorious for getting in day one, destroying everything, right? And when we do that, no one learns anything. We sit there smiling and laughing, and you guys are there like, what the frack just happened? And over the years, we have migrated our methodologies to really open up for the students to have a learning experience. Because in the end of the day, it's really about the students learning, and we want to see you guys succeed. Mid-Atlantic place is really high usually in nationals, and our region does very well. And I pride that on the fact of the complexity of our system, as well as the dedication of the staff involved in the Mid-Atlantic CCDC. Over the years, as I said, we started off hot and heavy. We would destroy systems day one. No one learned anything. So we started changing our methodologies over the last few years, working as a team, splitting across multiple technologies. So like Stuart on the call, he's doing Linux. So is everyone. HM01 is on our web team. In the past, I've been on web, Linux, Windows. I ran the gamut. Hopefully, we'll have some other guys join from the Windows team. But either way, we're now into that phase of things where early on in the competition, we're allowing you guys to kind of feel safe for at least the majority of the first day, right? I'm not going to say the whole first day. You guys are kind of dealing more with injects. You're kind of knocking us out of things. We're trying to bury things in. Yes, definitely a false sense of security, as someone just posted in the chat. We're trying to stay low key as possible during the first few hours of the day one, right? Now, at the end of day one, depending where teams are, because we're trying to basically make sure our skills or our time is spent evenly amongst all teams to make sure no one has a huge lead and that we're basically paying everyone the same amount of attention as possible. We may jump to another team that's way ahead to try to keep focus on them for a little bit, while we let maybe a team that's all the way in last place kind of regain themselves to build back up to have a chance in the competition. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room just because I know this is going to come up. Day one this year, within the last 2 hours of competition, there was a box 9 catted. And with 2 hours left in day one, I was okay with that happening. The team involved was really good, doing very well during the competition, playing the competition for what the competition was this year. So you may see our methodologies change throughout the years, is my main point here. By day two, you're going to start seeing things really start hitting the fan for you guys. We're going to start vamping things up. Usually by lunchtime, we're at that point where we're going to start hitting destruct buttons on things. And things are not going to start becoming recoverable without reverts or without system disks. So that's kind of where we migrate over the years. This year was unique for several things. I want to give a shout out to our red team players, the blue team players, as well as the staff. This year almost did not happen for numerous reasons. Some may or may not have been shared with you guys. Some I cannot share. But for the fact that everyone was able to pull together in the last few months, and you guys were all able to get together and actually have a 2020 Mid Atlantic. I want to give you guys a round of applause for that. It's just, it was a lot. It's definitely not the system we're used to. It's not the environment we're used to. A lot of things changed this year. Some for the better, some not for the better, in my opinion. The final thing I want to go into before we jump into the actual questions is this is the first year in a long time that the blue team had the advantage over the red team. I would say for the last 15 years, maybe even last year, Rob kind of molded it more where the blue team had the advantage. Over the last 15 years, red team always had a guaranteed way in, right? Basically, we were the big bad wolf, and if we want to in your machines, we're going to find a way in their machines. This is the first year where we actually hit a wall at points. We had default creds. There was really no vulnerabilities on the boxes themselves. The vulnerable web apps that we did see were not really vulnerable. We could not get the publicly released exploits to work on them. Modifying the code did not work on them. So a lot of the access this year was really reliant on those default creds. For those teams that were able to figure out how to use their VMs to lock us out and basically take the network offline, way to play the game and be able to accomplish that. Some things to think about moving forward, and we'll address that as we go through the call, is how would you do that differently in the real world environment, inside business itself, where you're not taking your business offline, but you're still neutralizing the threat. And we'll go through that in a moment. You guys moved pretty fast with only 6 scoreable services and 8 players per team. You guys were able to quickly respond, lock out services, turn off services you did not need. So we saw a lot of speed this year. We saw a huge increase in the number of injects you guys were able to get done this year. And I think that's partly because of the low number of scoreable services. You guys didn't really have to worry about keeping things up. And maybe you guys will share that information with us to let us know. So we'll jump into the questions now, and we'll go from here. Let me scroll down to the questions, jump back over this other screen. And if it doesn't look like I'm looking at you guys, it's because I'm reading questions, so I apologize. So we'll start with the general questions, and any of the red team members that aren't, feel free to jump in. I don't want to be the one only talking. I want to give you guys all a chance to speak. So some of the general questions: what did we do good, right? And I kind of addressed some of the items this year. I gotta say the number of instant responses, not the number. Let me rephrase that: the quality of instant response reports this year. I had a question one of the teams, and I'm not going to mention the team's name here because I don't want to call anyone out. The detail in the report, they received a 30-page incident response report that literally probably could have arrested all of us during that competition. All the red team members. It was so detailed. They had a timeline of each incident, each person logging in. They actually even went into binary analysis of the executables that we wrote custom for this event, and they pasted all the screenshots in and wrote the detail about it. That alone was off the chart. It was crazy. I'd never seen something like that in a CCDC before. The other item, the other item I mentioned was the speed. You guys moved fast. And then the final item I have, and I'll open it up to the rest of the guys here if they have any other items, is the ability to get all these injects done. So, Stuart, everyone, or HM, if you guys have any other ones you want to add in there, please do so. Yes. Actually, before I jump in the next set of questions, there, everyone, one of the questions that did come in was asking about uh, democles. Is that how you pronounce it? You're, yeah, yeah. Are you willing to share any information about that, Lexi? No, it was just asking what it was. Anything that you're willing to share about it. So and and someone else asked. They said with Lexi, Orion to everyone with Lexi. So I guess Lexi was one of the parts. And that's actually a good point here. So we're going to share as much information as we can with you guys. Some of the stuff may be reused in national, so we can't share everything with you. And then there's, of course, there's that special sauce that we use in our day-to-day jobs that we definitely will not share during these type of calls with anyone. We don't want that type of details getting out there. It's already kind of hard on us because we do this every day for a living, and a lot of the stuff that we would use in our day jobs, as soon as we deploy to your machines, the first response we see is, "Hey, this does not look right. Let's upload it to VirusTotal. Let's upload it here." And then all of a sudden, our custom stuff is now starting to get tagged and marked, which makes our full-time jobs much harder. So we're starting to actually see where we're kind of curtailing what we're normally doing on our day-to-day jobs just to make sure we're not burning things and letting things work. Yeah. Yeah, and just to add on to that, and actually, let me admit these guys before I forget. Just to add on to that, if you guys are how do I phrase this? So in a good environment, right? You guys should be looking at what is normal and what is not normal, right? We saw a lot of people going in just randomly shutting off services, deleting services, um, removing full applications. One team even removed PHP and MyAdmin, which you guys needed. So uh, hopefully you fixed it. I don't know. Usually we end up fixing your stuff so you guys continue going on, things like that. So just a note on that to make sure that when you get into the real world, you guys are not just randomly deleting things, turning off services, shutting down processes, as things will not work properly. All right. One of the other next chapter here is people ask about how to improve scoring, right? Everyone's always worried about scores. We've seen a huge gamut in different scoring. We've seen people in last place take first place. We've seen people in first place end up in last place. To really understand scoring is probably more complex than us actually hacking your machines. There's many different aspects that come into scoring, and our team only has a small portion of control on that. So our control over scoring is more around basically stopping you from completing injects and interfering with your system uptimes. Um, During day one, you won't see too much interference usually with your inject as far as your scoring goes, your system uptimes. You may see systems getting turned off, and then you guys can turn them back on. Nothing permanent. You guys can restart services left and right, and things should continue running for you guys. By day two, we're looking at getting a full red board. That's our reward at the end of the day. We take a nice screenshot of a full red board. Ways you guys can improve scoring is make sure that your servers are running. Make sure that they are running properly with the correct web pages. So, for example, if you guys are shutting down your Apache server and spinning up a simple Python server because you want to defeat the score, just note most scoring engines are looking for a key phrase within that web page. So if that phrase is no longer in that web page, you guys are no longer getting scored for that. Also note if you guys are changing banners and trying to manipulate things to try to hide from us, you may shoot yourselves in the foot, just to let you know. And we see that a lot on day one. A lot of times we get blamed early on day one, and 9 out of 10 times, if the issue's on day one, it's usually not us. It's usually something you guys modified and shot yourself in the foot. Completing injects. More injects you guys get done, more points you get. There was one inject that we were hoping a majority of you guys would do, and only one team did. It was basically re-enabling SSH and giving your CEO, your CISO, whatever Costas played this year, ability to SSH in. So I like to thank that team for actually following through and doing that, because that did give us access back. We were able to hijack that inject, modify it where Costas needed root access. So that was very helpful. So thank you to that team. To the rest of you guys who didn't do that inject, bah humbug to you guys. And then kickball. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah, it was definitely a good idea not to that inject. And I don't think that inject was worth a lot. I think it was like 100 points or something. So in real life business, you guys are going to be facing choices, right? There's going to be times where you're asked to do something that you may not be willing to do, or your business may fall into moral compromise by doing, and it's really up to you to survey that risk and help make a decision how you guys want to go forward with that. Acting alone is not a good idea, but taking that knowledge that you have and bringing it to your leadership and saying, hey, by doing this, I think we're going to open ourselves to additional attack vectors, and letting them buy into your decisions. You're the professional. You're going to be the factual person to give them that data that they need to make that decision. All right. Let's jump down to the Palo Altos. I don't have anyone from the Palo Alto team on, but they did provide me a lot of details here to help you guys. The Palo Altos seem to be the love-hate relationship of every single team here. And the first thing I want to mention about the Palo Altos is this is the first year where I think most of us saw a huge migration from using the Palo Alto to host-based firewalls. We did see you guys using the Palos, but I think at some point you guys realized, hey, our Palo Altos are screwed up. They're past owned. Let's not touch them anymore, and let's look at other ways to block these guys. Um, some key points to remember about Palo Altos. One, there was no IR reports whatsoever about your firewalls. So I'm guessing all you guys' firewalls ran fine, and really there wasn't a problem, right? Which we know is not the case, right? Because actually, our Palo Alto guy actually spent a couple hours each day fixing firewalls because they broke. Um, so the first question we had from almost every single team was persistence on the Palo Alto. The most important thing to remember about the Palo Altos is about how the red team scored. Yes. All right. So before I get into the Palo Altos, there was a question posted about how is the red team score calculated? Magically, right? So what we are asked to do as a red team, and there's not a lot of science around this. We are asked to rank the teams 1 through X based on what we see as their abilities to keep us out of their systems while actually keeping us out of the system, right? So when I say that, it's kind of double-edged sword here. So basically, if you're gaming the system, we're not going to rank you as high. If you're playing the system as it's a real world environment, because that's what this is supposed to simulate, is a real world environment, a learning opportunity for all you guys, the ability for you guys to apply your skill sets and really take what you're learning and apply it to a real world situation. If you guys are doing that, you're going to be scoring higher as far as we go as a right team. If we see that you're relying solely on reverts, using the out of band access to basically shut off all services, lock everything out, and then come back online. Those, while that is a good approach, that's not a real world type scenario. In a real world environment, if you were doing that all the time, your career may or may not be limited based on where you're working. So we want to make sure that you guys are learning, and that's why we're here. We want to make sure that you guys are taking the knowledge you have and be able to apply that elsewhere in the community. If you're solely relying on just going through that scenario, revert, you're not learning. It becomes a CTF to you guys, and it kind of makes us worried about when you get out there. In the real world, don't be you. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it at that, right? As I say, it's a kind of double-edged sword. We don't have this year. We don't really have a full scoring system to really rank you guys on. In our normal Mid Atlantic, we have a scoreboard where, based on your service uptime, the ability to lock us out, and your IR reports, we get a calculation that we base your ranks on. This year, we had none of that really. It was thrown together at the last few moments. We were able to pull it off to you guys. We had to make a yeah. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Yep. So I see some of the people that I kind of expect to go back on this commenting. So let me bring up one other point here too with this. Out of band, right? So think about out of band access. A true out of band solution basically requires you to have something totally separate from the network. So you may have a jump box that gives you a command line into a system. The likelihood of you having a remote desktop over the public internet that's not encrypted in some way is very slim to none. Most of the time, you guys are getting some type of SSH prompt, some other type of command line solution that anyone else on the internet could basically try to hack. In this out of band situation for this event only, the out of band basically segregated everything off the network. That's kind of like going back into the old days of CCDC, where the first response of every team used to be unplug the firewall. Basically, at minute one, for a few years, the first attack method that every team used was I'm going to unplug my firewall, and then I'm going to take those service point hits because while no one else can get in, I'm going to patch everything. I'm going to change every single password. And then I'm going to plug that firewall back in. I want to take this into a real world scenario for you guys. If you're Amazon, let's say, Amazon's making millions of dollars a day because their e-commerce site's up. Usually our scenarios are based on you're now a new IT company that's coming on scene and you need to fix the problems because the other guys were just fired because they didn't do their jobs right. Is your first response to Amazon going to be, I'm going to unplug your website for several hours while we change every single thing before we plug you back in? You guys need to be able to firefight and to be able to identify the risk and come up with possible solutions to keep business running as well as to be able to combat the attack. There's a methodology for incident response called pick roll. It's really old, right? So you're going to plan, you're going to identify, you're going to contain, you're going to remediate, you're going to eradicate, and then you have your lessons learned. A lot of the stuff we saw in the event this year is basically more responsive, um, like huge attacks. We saw people running TCP resets to everything 3.star. So anything that was communicating to anything with a 3 in the IP address was basically getting resetted. We saw full blanket IP blocks of internet sites. Microsoft.com was one of them in the IR report. Really ballsy moves. And in the real world, that could be really jeopardizing to your business. So what I want to stress here is being able to do the proper IR work to basically able to recover from these type of attacks and to be able to move forward. Scoring is one thing, right? Everyone wants to be at the top of the food chain. They all want to go to nationals. You all want to win that money and the fame, right? And I don't blame you. It's the biggest thing, right? It's really cool to do. Something that I kind of wish I had when I was a kid to be able to do this, like when I was in college. But I'm hoping that you guys take a different a value out of this, and that this is a learning experience for you guys, and you're able to apply this into your future jobs. And that's the main reason I do CCDC every year, is to help everyone that's on this call to succeed. All right. Someone wrote, "Is there money?" There's a $500 gift card that goes to the top school from the regionals. So if your team placed in first place, there's a $500 gift card that comes from Raytheon, right? Am I right? Palo Alto? Okay. Yeah. One of the vendors usually throws in a $500 gift card. So whatever the school does with that, and usually it pays probably for your bills for being at the event for the year. All right. So let's jump into Palo Altos. So biggest thing about Palo Altos, right, is the Palo Alto itself is running on a CentOS Linux system. So basically a Red Hat variant of Linux. So think about any vulnerability, persistence methodology, attack vector that can happen to a standard Linux box is now available on a Palo Alto box. So that probably now has all your brains running around thinking about, oh crap, where we go from there. So just think anything that you would do to defend your Linux boxes, you probably want to apply to your Palo Alto box as well. There's a question here about, did we have console access except to the firewalls? Yes, you can get a bash shell on Palo Alto, and not only a bash shell, you can get a root shell on Palo Alto. Did we have console access to the Palo Altos? We did not actually have a root shell on Palo Alto. Sorry, we didn't actually have console access on Palo Alto, but we can make it look like we had console access on Palo Altos. So you were more than welcome to try to kill our shell, thinking that we were actually on the console when we were not on the console. Um, Now I will rephrase that question because we did have console in two boxes because we were trying to fix the hardware that died during the competition to try to recover teams. So two teams constantly rebooted their firewalls. Literally, they were booting every few moments, and the firewall hardware actually got corrupted. Our firewall pro Travis Suspicious Low is not on the call right now. He actually got on via the console and started fixing the firewall. So he was able to recover two of the firewalls during the competition, which basically took him off the keyboard for attacking you guys. What did the attacker side of the team XYZ multiple teams ask firewall look like during the burn down period of the firewalls? So one of the things you may notice with the firewalls, so the first thing I would say about the firewalls, we didn't try to burn down your firewalls, right? Having a physical firewall in an event like this is a dangerous scenario, right? Anytime you take a physical device that it's going to hit so much traffic, reboots, it sees so much abuse throughout each year's CCDC. It's like playing Russian roulette. Eventually, something's going to give and something's going to die. So that's why we saw some firewalls dying. We did not try to intentionally burn anyone's firewalls. During the competitions, we may have removed your NATs, which basically took down your network. So if you guys wanted to basically say, hey, red teamers, we're going to shut off all our services and you guys not going to get in, well, guess what? We have your firewall and you're no longer going to score. It's a give and take relationship, guys. Give us a service, we'll focus on the service. Take everything away, we'll focus on the firewall. Let's see here. How could we regain access to our firewalls locking you out was another question that was asked by almost every single team. So Travis writes, there are many ways to regaining control of a compromised device. You can shut off the C2 communication. So if you guys can figure out where that server was talking to, through captures, through TCP dumps, through your firewall logs, you could look at creating a rule to basically block that. Unfortunately, your rules wouldn't work because basically our script basically constantly removed any type of deny rule. So you may have to find other methods to block us out. Sorry, Travis didn't really give me more information on that. But he put a big smiley face next to sorry. So hopefully that goes a little bit of distance for you guys. Side note, however, you need to know what you're doing because when you guys enter maintenance mode, it can break the firewall if you use maintenance mode incorrectly. I would reach out if I was you guys. I would have your captains reach out. I think if I tell all 37 plus of you guys on the call right now, reach out to Travis, he'll probably shoot me. But have your captains reach out to Travis or follow him on Twitter. Suspicious Low. He has a document he created for CCDC about 2 years ago that really gives a lot of great information on the Palo Altos. I have a feeling over the next few years, we may see a shift off Palo Altos. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just seeing a huge issue here where this is a known vulnerability and Palo hasn't fixed, and Travis keeps owning that eventually something has to change in the cycle here. You guys already started seeing this. You as a blue team have already started moving away from the Palo Altos and started relying on your host-based firewalls. Okay, the next section before we get into our individual teams was around routers. Guys, to be honest, we had no clue what the hell your router passwords were until the very end of the competition. I get an email from Dave saying, hey, by the way, your router's passwords are change me. I don't know why we didn't try to change me. Maybe there's so much other crap going on. So any router issues you guys had, those were self-inflicted wounds. And sorry about that. You guys did it to yourself because we touched no routers during the whole competition. Also a great source for learning more about Palo Alto's works, yes. And yeah, the guy on the Palo, we had a actual rep on the Palo Alto. So most of you guys don't know, if any of you guys are on here that are site judges, we had an ops call running during the competition. So I had the ops guys in one year, I had my red team guys in my other year, and a couple of times I might have hot mic things back and forth. So I apologize. But during one of the incidents where Travis was basically owning the Palo Altos, it kind of transferred over, and the guy from Palo Alto was like, "Oh crap! What the frack did you guys do our firewalls?" I was like, "Uh oh." Mute, talk to Travis, update the other guy. So there are things that Palo Alto is well aware of, and I know they're fixing it. Travis is a hardcore guy. He digs seriously into the code, takes it apart. It's crazy. Let's see here. Click to open. It's clean, I swear. I am not clicking a link. I'm going to skip all the Windows thing because I don't see any Windows guys on here right now. Let's jump down to the Linux. Make sure I'm in the right document. Yes, Linux. All right. Yeah, so this is going to be mostly Stuart and everyone here. So, yeah. So this year we saw what? We saw Ubuntu. We saw a Debian variant. And I think someone said, I think they're all Ubuntu, right? Weren't they? Yep. All right, so I'll ask the questions. You guys feel free to jump in wherever you want to. What were some of the ways, and this is going to be Linux and web, right? So I'll throw out some web questions here too, even though we didn't get too many of them, which you guys had no web issues? Interesting. Um, Especially with my old background where we had shells on the box and we were using the web shells to, but whatever. And www data being sudo. What are some ways we could have figured out you had access to our machines besides checking netstat or W? Whoever wants to take that one. Maybe. Yeah. And actually, that's a valid point there. Sorry, Stuart. So HM01 had a really good point there. So early on, you asked, how do you detect us, right? Um, if you guys got your Splunk working, that definitely could have been a good way, right? Splunk is used in many organizations. People create complex rule sets to be able to detect attackers and give heads up when oddity happens within the network. Now that takes some fine tuning, which you guys don't really have a lot of time to do during the event, but at least it could have gave you guys a idea of what was going on the network as well. And I'll pass back to Stuart or everyone. Ah, fuck. Fox. That's X. All right, demonetized. Yeah. Yeah, and actually, the people on YouTube can actually see our chat over here. I have the whole Zoom app shared only, so they'll be able to see it. Yeah. Yeah. And a big shout out to Stuart for fixing my buggy code. If you guys notice other weirdnesses where your shells would freeze up or your else command would take a couple of minutes to run, uh, yeah, or it creates a loop. Yeah, that was my bad programming. So thank you, Stuart, for fixing my bad code or fixing their process for them. Yep. Did anyone? See if anyone knows. See if anyone knows that reference before you tell it. Oh, that's a good response, but that's not the answer. It wasn't Y2K. But that is a pretty good response based on the date. Disgusting. What? Oh, nice. Uh, A lot of these guys are probably too young to really remember that. Oh man, I just didn't watch it. Giggity giggity, yes. OMG. All right. Um, well, let's move on. How well backdoored were the Linux boxes before the end of the competition? I think by the end, there was, I gotta say, near the end, a lot of people had us knocked out a lot of stuff, actually. Um, it's kind of depressing. But yeah, go ahead, guys. After you. I wanted to backdoor all the commands, but I just didn't have time and how buggy my code was. I didn't take the risk. Yes. Hey, 1 second. You guys continue. You guys continue. I gotta step away for a moment, but you guys keep answering the Linux questions. We'll be right back. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm back. Thanks, guys. I go help the little one real fast. Um, yeah, so definitely with the Linux side or any side in general, right? Make sure whatever hardening methodologies you guys decide to put in play will keep the system running in the first place, but also allow your business to continue working. Um, Here in our environment, the collegiate cyber defense competition environment, right? You have to report to COSIS. Um, there's been scenarios in years past where COSIS does not always become the most friendliest guy out there. And one of the things I propose for next year is before you guys can revert boxes, is that you need to go to COSIS with your business decision of why you're going to go revert boxes and get his approval before doing so. So can you guys imagine going to COSIS and say, hey man, we're going to revert all these business critical machines. And can you imagine how awkward that situation is in the first place? So that's how it's going to be in the real world. But COSIS may tell you you're fired, but in the real world, you're truly fired. There's no longer a paycheck coming to you. I'll tell you a quick story about COSIS before we jump into some questions around the web team. One of my early on in my career with the red team here in the collegiate cyber defense competitions, we introduced Cisco VoIP phones. And at the time, similar to the firewall, right? No one really knew anything about them, but they ran on a Linux system. I compromised the system. I basically hijacked the phone call, reverted to my phone, answered the phone call, and not even know what to say because I didn't even think this was going to work in the first place. I told him off, and Casas came storming out of the room, ran into the kids' room where all the students were, grabbed the student, and started yelling at the student about how to use that language to him and everything, and basically was telling the kid he was no longer part of CCDC. All of a sudden, he comes into the red team room and looks around and goes, who did it? I was so scared of him. And I wasn't even a blue team member. I was scared of him. I was like, I raised my hand and he comes over and goes, dude, I want to wring your neck, but that was awesome. So I understand he's a scary guy, and in the real world environment, it's definitely much worse. So for those of you guys who have actually the privilege to talk to him, it's kind of like the real world. All right. Since we don't have too many web questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask HM01 if he wants to give any information around web attacks, some of the things we did, if you're willing to share, and we'll go from there. After that, we'll jump back to Windows. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, the web shells were nice because while a lot of the standard ones we deployed were caught and removed, and a cohort of mine decided not to rename his payload. Hint, hint, everyone. They kept overwriting my payload. It was definitely nice to have them because it did give us some access back in. And while the screenshot behind me is one team in particular, we had similar options on most of the teams out there. I want to give kudos to the web team. The web application security testing is a very it's a yeah it's very hot. I do it every single day for my day job, and I gotta tell you, it's there's so many different avenues. It's so hard to master one area in particular. You have .NET, you have Java, you have Node, you have every single different framework that every single developer brings to you. So for these guys to go in and basically review these applications, come up with attack vectors, finding ways to put backdoors into applications, um, it takes a lot of work. And a lot of people don't want to be on the web team because it's such a hard team to be on, but it's one of the teams that we really rely on a lot to make sure we continuously get back into environments. There was a lot of questions in here about the MySQL databases, and I know I don't see them on the call right now. I know a few of our red team members were using them to relaunch different reverse shells within the stored procedures of the databases, which was very helpful to us. Also, that allowed us to basically manipulate data within your database. So if the service check looked for a certain field and that field was no longer there, you didn't get points for that. So definitely worth protecting your databases. Most real world environments, you don't see a MySQL database balls to the wall like this. So maybe firewalling or figuring out how your application can communicate to that database without needing direct internet access might be helpful in the future. People talk about PHP admin. I'll give it a quick real world scenario. In a previous life, I can't give any more details than that. The company was running PHP my admin, and the user that was running as happened to have the ability to write stored procedures, and I had the ability to execute items, which later led to my shell on the box in a real world environment. So seeing things like that, while you may need that for administrative abilities, you don't want that directly interfacing with the internet. You may want to apply different rule sets and things like that to lock things down. Yep, yep. I'll give you the credit. I'll give you the credit. Uh, yep. Red team deleted my SQL DNR system. If it was day two, I apologize because, well, really, I don't apologize. Tough. It's day two. If it was day one, sorry, maybe. And are you sure you didn't delete it? Sorry, Stuart. Oh my God. Yeah. So as we wrap up like the Linux website and we get into the Windows portion of this, one of the Windows guys shared me an awesome file, and it was basically a script that someone wrote. And the purpose of the script, I think, was to send a TCP reset and then basically delete a certain file. And they mistyped some of the commands in their PowerShell, or they fat fingered it, where it was actually causing damage to their system every time the command ran. And I'm sitting there reading this, and I was like, "What's the problem?" And it's like, dude, reread the command line. I was like, "Oh crap! They're literally deleting their own file system for us." And I was like, "Well, that will self-right itself eventually." And eventually did. The system ended up going offline, and of course we got blamed for it, and it really wasn't us. So make sure if you guys are gonna code stuff up, you guys want to be tricky and delete things, just make sure that you don't fat finger something. Let's jump over to Linux, the Windows side. And actually, before I do that, anyone have any questions on Linux or web or the firewall before we jump over to Windows? Feel free to paste in here, bash fixit password.sh. Nice. All right. Nice. All right. Yeah. So another thing I'll throw out there to you guys too is while we're doing this call with you guys, make sure that you reach out to your local red team guys. A lot of our guys live across the United States, and they're available to at least ping on Twitter, Facebook. Well, probably not Facebook, but Twitter, LinkedIn, things like that. If you guys want people to come out and talk to you, maybe the team members are willing to do that. I won't speak for everyone. I know personally here, Milledgeville is a short drive from my house. I go out there every now and then. I'll do a talk on some different security topic. I won't share anything specific about the collegiate cyber defense competition that will give anyone unfair advantages. I know West Virginia has had some of us come out to their campus before and do CTS with them. So if any schools out there are interested in any of that stuff, feel free to reach out to me, and then I can put you guys in contact with the people in your area, and we can figure things out. All right, so let's jump over to the Windows side. The Windows side, since you all don't want to download the Redeemer username image, there's a link. All right, we'll click it offline maybe later. We went down a few times. Yeah, we went down a few times, but as far as I know, it was up to the time right now. Okay. So for the Windows side, we got a lot of really specific questions around the tools, the techniques, that the guys were using. And a lot of the stuff they weren't really willing to share, as I said earlier on, because it's stuff that they wrote in for the real world environment and stuff that will be used probably in nationals and things like that. A lot of our team members here are definitely part of the national team, so that's great that we have such a large skill set across our teams. The first question we had on the Windows side, and anyone else on the call, right, team wise, that knows any of these answers, feel free to speak up. I am definitely, I like to say I'm a jack of all trades and definitely master of none. And Windows is something I have not been very familiar with in the last few years because my main job is mostly web. So if you guys have a better answer, feel free to jump in. So anything Windows related that we're allowed to share. I'm going to leave a blanket statement because there was a lot of questions, but a lot of stuff we couldn't answer because of what Shields asked us. So the first question was, how do we gain initial access to Windows 2012 AD, DNS, and DHCP? So the easy answer here is the initial access was definitely default credentials. Just like you guys have your fancy little PowerShell scripts and other scripts you guys write to try to keep us out. Of course, we write scripts too to keep us in. So at 9 o'clock, you guys get the buzzer to go. At 9 o'clock, we get the buzzer to attack. We hit our button, and boom, magically, agents are deployed across the board, right? Our attacks start going in using these credentials, burying deep in, like any malicious tool would do. And then we sit there and wait and wait and wait. Now, the interesting this year was, and this question isn't asked this, but am I on mute or I just got a weird beep in my ear? The interesting thing about it this year was email servers, right? So your email server had a firewall built into it that basically kept it hidden from us. So block ping requests to it. So during initial enumeration of your network, we couldn't find that email server. It took us a while to figure out that it was blocking pings, and then eventually we were able to find your email server. What you guys did well in the Windows environment, which also probably hurt you guys in points, was you didn't keep things on the domain. And some teams might have, some teams didn't. But if you had joined all the computers to the domain, like the inject said, and kept them all part of the domain, like the inject said, we probably would have had much more control over your network because of the access of being a part of the domain and controlling that part of the domain. With that being said, I believe the Windows team did a really great job staying on your machines. There was talks about using the golden ticket, so basically able to use that type of attack vector to keep on the domains and keep access to many of the machines. Many of you guys are used to some of the common names we're using these days, so we're starting to move away from those names, like X Administrator and things like that. What else can we share about Windows? What machines were the easiest to infiltrate and why? I kind of touched on that. Most of the Windows machines were pretty easy to access. Now, we did not have direct access, from what I've been told, to your Windows 10 desktop environments. So things that happen in your Windows 10 desktop environments, that was probably more your doing than our doing, for the most part, from what I'm reading here in the notes. Let's see here. Sounds like someone injected into it. Too many things on watch. It's a shame we never got smunk up. All right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Now I'm going to jump off the windows for 1 second. Someone just asked about the firewalls again. How is the firewall disabled without being able to restart it? It wasn't that the firewall wasn't able to be restarted. It was basically the team. If this is the team I'm thinking about, you guys killed your firewall. That's why it didn't restart. Basically, the firewall disabled. Assuming this is Palo Alto as well, unless you're talking about Windows. Oh, on the Windows. Sorry, right underneath it. Duh. Um, yeah. So a high level explanation of this is the guys were able to modify the files to stop that service from being able to respawn by either replacing it or damaging it in a way that it didn't respond any longer. Sorry, um, for that one. If you guys are really interested in a lot of the attacks we're doing and things like that, I would strongly suggest looking into some of the malware. Check out some of the malware forums and look at how the malware interacts. There's a lot of great opportunities out there to understand how people maintain persistence. They're able to disable services. They're able to stay on your boxes, all within the like these malware analysis type classes or these different blog posts about different pieces of malware. And the Windows guys and HM01, maybe I'll answer some more of this stuff, but um, the last few days I've been watching the Windows guys plan and get ready for their next competition. And some of the blog posts that these guys are reading and the level of code that they're getting into, I'm like, dude, where the heck do you guys find time in your day to get that far into the weeds to build these pieces of software to do this type of stuff? Let's see, what else we got here? How did you monitor our activity, right? So how do we make sure, how were we able to watch what you guys are doing in terminals and screens? A lot of the tools that the guys were using gave them GUI access or a visual access to your machine. So as you typed, we watched. Sometimes we interacted with you guys. Sometimes we played games with you guys. A lot of the tools, yeah, go ahead. Yep. So a lot of the tools also tie into like a lot of the most common industry standard tools out there for red teaming and Windows type attacks. In Linux, we really have like Metasploit and stuff like that, and Windows is usually like Cobalt Strike or oh god, my brain just went dead. Usually Cobalt, yeah, Merlin, and some Empire somewhat, not as much these days, but there's definitely different C2 type frameworks that allow us to build our tools to interact with them that give us these extra layers of control and functionality within our payloads on the systems. Back in the early days of CCDC, we used to use things like Poison Ivy or back offices and things like that where we're able to watch your screens. Yeah, dude, poison ivy was big back in the day, early on in CCDC. uh, uh, yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of gave up poison ivy like years ago once we kind of moved into more advanced attack vectors. Um, Now I have to go Google. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but they were kind of paying our butts this year by disabling SSH. So, did you guys take advantage? Yeah. One of the other questions on the Windows side was is similar to the Linux side. Like, what are some ways that they can know that they're on the machine, right? Um, Definitely, and this goes true no matter what. And something that you'll learn as you do different certifications, different career paths, and things like that. Really understanding what the operating system looks like in a clean state, and then understanding what it looks like in a dirty state. Anything that's out of the norm in a production environment, if you're able to understand what that difference is, it's definitely going to be very helpful. One of the things that I really noticed back in the day when I did my OCP a couple of years back now is the ability to get on a box was simple, but once you were on that box, to find the next level to escalate your privilege was really able to understand what is normal and what is not normal, and that goes with the blue team as well. If you're on a box, if you know that that file is not normally a Windows file, 9 out of 10 times that's your smoking gun, and you can go right to that and figure that out. If you have no clue what's normal on Windows and what's normal on Linux, it's going to take you much more time to detect an attacker in the environment. Let's see here. That's all I have really. Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Yep. Yep. They're asking if you guys have Twitter accounts, if you guys are willing to post them in the chat. Oh yeah. On the Windows side, I think Shields is on Twitter, but Shields doesn't usually share much. Let's see here. Yeah. So here is the captain of the Windows side. Where is my live screen? There we go. All right. So for those who are looking for the Windows guys, oops, I just posted that privately to the guy. That's what I've been talking privately to one dude. There you go. So that is Chris Shields. That's me. And then at Suspicious Low is Travis for the Palos. And that's only one B, not two B's in my name. My keyboard's sticking. Let's see here. All right. I think that wraps up the Windows side. Anyone have any questions around Windows that we can answer for you guys? That are I know we got a lot of Windows questions posted, but a majority of them were super specific to a file that we could not share with you guys, and I apologize for that. But you got to kind of respect the fact we can't share every single thing with you. All right. Any other questions in general for our guys while we have everyone on the call here? Gonna be RBC. Yep. You have to hack your way in. Yep. Yep. Legally. Yes. Well, sorry, Stuart. You, yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Nice. Yes. Yes, definitely. Burp Suite offers free classes. Yes, there's yeah. Yeah. And now I'll mention one thing about bug bounty programs. If any of you guys are actually in the real world right now doing internships or any other jobs, just make sure that there is not an NDA in place that prevents you guys from doing bug bounties. For example, my job, I cannot partake in bug bounties because a lot of people on bug bounties are part of my job. So that becomes a conflict of interest for us. Yep. Till he changes his name again. Yep. What is my Discord? I'm. Yep. Yep. And we can always do remote sessions too, as well. So it's definitely up to you guys how you guys want to proceed, right? There's a lot of opportunities out there. We can share data with you guys all day long. You guys can use Google all day long. It's really a matter of you guys reaching out and making that initial contact and building that network up for yourselves in your school and taking advantage of what's out there for yourselves. So definitely make sure you reach out to us and network. You may hate us right now because of owning you guys last week and whatnot, but we are here in reality to help you, and that's why we participate every single year. And I think my Discord is at GenXWeb. I don't have any fancy numbers next to my name for some reason. Do I? What? Oh, I do have a number. Nice. I know, man. Bring back IRC. DJ. Nice. Early on, we used to use IRC all the time. We moved to Slack, and it took me forever to get used to Slack. And then we moved to Discord. I'm like, frack Discord. All right, see if that works. Yeah. All right, guys. That's all we got. We shared a lot of information with you guys tonight. Hopefully, it was helpful. Hopefully, any hatred towards us is squashed. We look forward to seeing you guys all next year again. Um, Reach out to us during the year. We'll share what we could share. Hopefully, this was helpful. And I want to thank my red team guys for jumping on this call. I want to thank you guys on the blue team for being able to jump on this call. I know we went over quite a bit by about a half an hour or so. But thank you all again. And as I said, reach out to us if you have any questions. All right. Have a good night. All right. Deuces. How do I end my call? End meeting for all. Deuces.